Welcome to SportsBeat KC, the Kansas City Star Sports podcast, today presented by First Federal Bank. It's Wednesday, May 11th, and I'm Blair Kirchhoff. It's racing weekend in Kansas City. The NASCAR Cup Series, the trucks, and ARCA descend on Kansas Speedway Saturday and Sunday, and we're talking about it today. On the poll for today's interviews is Randy Covitz. He spent 34 years at the Star before his retirement and has been an authority on just about everything in Kansas City sports, from the Chiefs and Royals to soccer and auto racing. Randy left the Star in 2015, but he didn't bid farewell to auto racing. He's continued to cover events at the Speedway through his retirement, and that'll be the case this weekend. On today's show, we chatted about the auto racing portion of his career and what to watch for in the AdventHealth 400 on Sunday. After a break, you'll hear my interview with Kansas Speedway President Pat Warren. We talk about how the Speedway and NASCAR battled through the pandemic, the changes that have come to NASCAR this year, like the next-gen cars, and other topics. We begin with a bit of auto racing sound. One of the drivers to keep an eye on Sunday is Ross Chastain, who has scored his first 2 Cup victories this year. A big moment in Chastain's career was his victory in the 2019 Trucks race at Kansas. You'll hear the FX1 final lap call of the race, and then from Chastain in a recent interview about that moment 3 years ago. Okay, let's get started.
1 lap remaining. That team can taste it, can't they, Vince? You could just see the jubilation as they came by and got 1 to go. But Ben Rhodes continues to close.
5 others have scored their first career wins here at Kansas. Ricky Hendrick, John Wood, Eric Darnell, James Busher, William Byron, and tonight, Ross Chastain is going to add his name to the list. Ross Chastain bringing it to the line. He's going to win at Kansas.
Good job, Al. Thank you. It's over, right? Yes, sir, it is. Thank you so much, Al, Bill, Cody. Thank you, guys.
It revitalized and changed my career. So, yeah, to win here, I blew the motor up doing burnouts. I was so excited. I've never done that. And I apologize to Nice Motorsports to this day about it because I blew up a motor, but there was a lot of excitement and a life changer.
Were you at the first race at Kansas Speedway?
Oh, yes. I've seen all 20 years of them. Yes.
You haven't missed a spring or a fall race?
Not NASCAR. No, I've not missed a NASCAR Cup, Truck, Xfinity. I've missed a couple ARCA races, but back in the when they used to run in the spring. But no, I've seen. What is that now? That's
well, last year would have been the 20th anniversary, and they didn't get to celebrate it. They ran the races, but they didn't celebrate the 20th because 2021, and they opened in 2001. So this will be race 20.
No, they started. This would be like race what?
Well,
we should have done our homework.
Well, single races. Fall races for 8 or 9 years.
12 was the first
double
twice a year. So there's been about 32 races or whatever. Yeah, okay. 32 Cup. Yeah.
Well, it's a short list of people that have seen them all, I would suspect. Do you know off the top of your head anybody else?
I would guess Scott Traylor and
Racing Boys.
Yeah, the Racing Boys. But other than that, and of course, Jeff Berger, maybe, who was the first president, but Jeff, I don't think that Pat Warren has, the current president. Yeah, I bet you that's a short list that you can count on a hand, yeah.
Talk to Pat Warren, you'll hear that after we do a break. But that's amazing that you are the because you grew up such a big NASCAR fan. Right?
Blair, the first auto race I covered, that we treated that first ARCA race in Winston West race that Frank Kimmel tried to win the double in the summer or spring of 2001. We covered that like the Daytona 500. And the first race I ever saw was the first race I ever covered. Or maybe the first race I ever covered was the first race I ever saw. However you want to look at it. No, I was just kind of drafted to kind of be, I wasn't the nuts and bolts guy. I was kind of drafted to be the sights and sounds and just spectacle color of the event. And it just kind of grew on me. And I grew up, my family was in the auto parts business. We had a salvage yard. So I know all the pieces that are under the hood and under the car. And so I can talk automobiles. But no, I was never a racing guy at all until it came here in 2001.
Well, I know through previous conversations that it may have been an assignment in the early stages, but you grew to like it. And it's just different than covering the other sports.
I grew to appreciate it. The hardest thing in pro sports to win is a auto race, a NASCAR race, because you don't have a winner and a loser. You have a winner and 39 losers, and 39. Other teams are on. It's the mechanics. I mean, one bolt can fall off, one debris, and people again. Like with golf, they talk about strategy, no strategy. There's more strategy in an auto race than a football game because everything changes every day. The wind's different, the sun's different, the temperature's different. Just everything just changes in an instant, and you've got to make these decisions. Aside from the mechanical, when to take tires, when to take 2 or 4, when to fuel up, the pits, all that, and the teamwork. I mean, you've seen it. I mean, one tire changer just is a step late. That's the difference in a race, So yeah, I don't sit there. Nobody sits there and watches all 267 laps going around. Nobody, that. We've been to the, you're on your phone, you're on your laptop, you're walking around. Nobody sits in their seat for 260. There's places to go, things to see. But it's a sport I've really learned to appreciate over these 20 years.
Well, every big name driver has won this race, since 2001. And Jeff Gordon won the first couple of them.
Yes.
And I think he later won.
He's won a third.
Like about 10 years later. It was a while later. But it's a different cast these days for me. I'm not saying I lost track of auto racing, but the COVID years, it changed a lot of things. And I didn't find myself as tuned into it as I had been. And now I look at the pole position or just qualifying, and I see names that I don't recognize anymore. And one of the very interesting names that I did some research on and actually talked to some people about is Ross Chastain. What an interesting guy he is in so many different ways: personality, where he's from, and how he celebrates victories, but the thing that I really like about him now is his biggest moment in racing came at Kansas Speedway.
Saved his career. We'll have a story about him in the Sunday Star. And right here, 2 funny things about it. Well, one funny thing about it is he's known for, like Carl Edwards in the backflip and Emilio Castroneves climbing the fence. He's known for smashing the watermelon and sampling it in Victory Lane. He started it early in his career at lower levels. He did it in 2018 when he won his first Xfinity race in Vegas. But he's been a journeyman. He's been with underfunded teams, happy just to make a top 10 or 15. Well, he won an Xfinity race in Vegas, and that was his first big watermelon smash. Then he didn't win for another year until he came to Kansas. He's crossing taking the checkered flag, and all of a sudden he realized, we don't have a watermelon. And he's calling to his crew, go get a watermelon. And they didn't have one. So then he won 2 more races that year and had them. And that's his shtick. But why you haven't heard about some of these drivers and why there's been 10 winners in 12 races, him having his first 2 of his journeyman career, is because of the new car. And this has changed everything. It's why drivers you never heard of, like Austin Cindric, won the Daytona 500. Chase Briscoe, who took over Clint Bowyer's car, won his first race this year. Chastain, after like 115 Cup starts, has won 2 now. This new car has changed everything because the Penske's and the Hendricks and the powerhouses, Joe Gibbs, they gotta work from the same pool of clay as everybody else. All the parts now come from a single source. I mean, they got their own engine, but everything else, brake shoes, water pumps, springs, shocks, struts, instead of Hendrick trying out 20 different water pumps to get it right, he's got the same one that Ross Chastain has. And Ross is driving for just a two-car team called Trackhouse, co-owned by a former driver born in St. Louis, Justin Marks, and the entertainer Pitbull. And they own this two-car team. And Chastain was driving for Chip Ganassi Racing. You remember that name.
Oh, yeah.
And they closed shop in last year, sold all their assets to Justin Marks, who knew this new car was coming. And he knew I can race with Gibbs and Stuart Haas and all the boys. So Chastain, who thought he lost his career because Chip Ganassi was closing, Trackhouse bought their entire operation, their race shop, their employees. And he had a streak with those 2 wins of 7 top 5s in 9 races. A guy who couldn't, finish in the top 20 most races. His first 2 races this year, last at Daytona, and like 30 at the second race at Vegas. And since then, he could have won the other day at Darlington. He was third behind the leaders, and he tried making a move and spun out and ended up out of the running. But yeah, he's an interesting character, a good guy. And yes, his career, another guy whose career really took off, the other guy who's won 2 races this year, William Byron, the one who could have won at Darlington, and Joey Logano spun him out. But
he's not too happy about that.
Not too happy. But William won before he graduated high school as an 18-year-old. He won the trucks race here in 16, I believe it was. So he always kind of credits Kansas was kind of the start of his ascension to the number 24 Jeff Gordon car that you just talked about.
All right, so just to go back to Chastain for a second,
sure.
The watermelon thing comes from a watermelon farm in Florida, I believe, right? His family owned the watermelon farm?
8th generation watermelon. And he was telling me, this will be part of the story too, kind of why he does it. It's a little motivating tool. Everybody in the garage now knows, we got this watermelon. It's in the hauler now. They don't forget. He told me one story. There were a race he was winning in Texas, and he thought he was winning. And he called down there and says, somebody got a watermelon, and they didn't. And the guy, one of his crew members in his tracks, in his race suit with his headphones, left the track, drove to a grocery store, got back to the track, and then he didn't win. So anyway, he said an interesting thing, because he owes everything to his family and their farm, and that's what he was raised and provided the funds. Expensive sport.
Yes.
And so he says, even if somebody's watching the race in a sports bar and they don't even have the sound on, they don't know who I am, but they see this guy throwing down a watermelon and then eating, that's good for the watermelon business. So yeah, it's very interesting.
You mentioned 10 winners in 12 races this year because of the next gen, largely because of the next gen car. How many drivers qualify for the playoffs?
16.
16. So, and if you win a race, you automatically qualify.
Pretty much. I mean, mathematically, if there were 17 different winners, but yes, if you win a race, there's never been a winner not make it.
Right. It'd be tough for that to happen.
Yes.
But
also, the points leader, if there's a points leader who hasn't won a race, and that can happen.
Yeah.
I mean, right now, Ryan Blaney's like 3rd in the points. He hadn't won yet, but he's been so consistent. That's considered a win if you win the regular season points.
And that's what I was getting at. There have been some pretty good drivers that haven't won a race this year. And I'm wondering if it gets to a point where they approach the playoffs and it puts pressure on Kevin Harvick or others. I mean, they need to win. 4
former champions. This is what's interesting. We talk about this is my story for Thursday's paper. All these young drivers we've talked about are all in their 20s. Chastain's old at 29, but Alex Bowman, Byron's 24. A lot of these young drivers that we talked about, 4 former champions, 3 of them in their 40s. Harvick, you mentioned Harvick, Truex, Kurt Busch. They don't have a win. Keselowski's 38 years old. He doesn't have a win. Hamlin has a win, but he's not a former champion. Believe it or not, he's considered the best driver who has never won a champion. He's the Mark Martin of the 2000s. But yes, pressure is really going to build. You're going to see some real battling Fortunately, Kyle Busch has a win, so we don't have to worry about him wrecking people. But yes, Harvick's going to have to maybe, pull a Logano, to win a race. There's several of these household names you're used to seeing running up front haven't won, including, like I said, Truex has had great success here, and he needs to win.
So is this good for racing?
Well, it's the old arguments, Blair, like in all sports. Do you want a dominant team? Do you want
you want a Cowboys in the playoffs?
Yeah. Do you want a dynasty?
Right.
Do you want the Patriots?
The Lakers.
Do you want the Patriots, or do you want to see
the Bengals?
Yes, the wealth spread. So I think it's good that you don't have those same 4 teams winning every week. I think it's good. I mentioned this Trackhouse, but a couple other drivers with teams like Michael McDowell, who won a Daytona 500 a couple years ago. We know what a crapshoot that is, but he's been running. He's a 40-year-old journeyman, but he's with like Front Row Motorsports, a one-team car, or Richard Petty's team, which hadn't won since 1999 or something. The 43. Eric Jones almost won a race a few weeks ago, and he's looking good. So it's nice to see some of the have-nots really have a chance.
The other attraction for us for this race was always the local driver, right? Clint Boyer or Carl Edwards, and we even claimed Jamie McMurray. Nobody local anymore. We're out of the locals.
We are out of the locals, except for turn on your television, and Clint Boyer and Jamie McMurray will be calling the race. I did a story on them last year. I called them the Midwest Motor Mouths. We're among the normal NASCAR guys you're used to. Jamie, 2 guys who both grew up within an hour of Kansas City are national voices in NASCAR. But no, and I haven't noticed, I'm sorry I haven't done my homework, but my friend Jennifer Jo Cobb, I haven't noticed her in the box scores. I haven't noticed. I don't know if she's if she's rustled up sponsorship or a car for this race. I suspect she will, and she does a good job staying on the track and staying out of trouble and finishing the race. And there's something to be said for that. But no, we just Lakeside hasn't produced. Of course, we don't have I-70, which is a factor because that was an asphalt track. We have not produced anyone in the last 10 years.
That was always the easy sidebar for guys like
or a tough one.
It's
Clinton Carr didn't like.
No, they tried to get the heck out of it as quick as they could when they didn't win.
Yes.
And correct me if I'm wrong, they never won.
No, Carl won. I don't say famous, but Carl won a memorable trucks race early in his career, which really got the attention of Roush Racing at the time. And again, that was a race that kind of propelled someone's career when Carl won that 2008 trucks race. And Clint also won a trucks race. He was a cup driver by then. But yeah, they each won a trucks race, but not the big one.
Okay. All right. So race number 30-something for you for the Kansas Speedway. Hope the rain stays away. And I know there's a little bit of it's creeped into the forecast now, and nothing worse than spending hours upon hours out there with in a rain delay. It's funny. I'm watching the Drive to Survive on Netflix, the Formula One sort of series, which has been great. I didn't realize Formula One cars drive in the rain. They have their events in the rain. So I hope it doesn't rain on you this weekend. I really appreciate you spending some time talking to us, Mr. Randy Covitz. We're going to take a break, and when we come back, you will hear from Pat Warren, president of the Kansas Speedway.
Buying your first home is a huge milestone, but the journey there can be confusing. First Federal Bank of Kansas City is here to make it simple. After nearly a century of serving the KC community, our loan advisors have experience in every type of housing market. With a short phone call, we can give you a free rate quote and talk through loan options. No pressure, no obligation. The road to home ownership can be simple with First Federal Bank. Get started with a free quote at ffbkc.com/homes. First Federal Bank of Kansas City, because banking is personal. Member FDIC, Equal Housing Lender.
Hey, this is Blair. There are several ways to access the Star Sports section. Let me tell you about a couple of them. There's Sports Pass. For $12.99 a month, you get unlimited digital access to all the Star Sports content, including beat writing, columns, features, pretty much everything we write. The deal renews monthly until you tell us to cancel. For $159.99 a year, you get everything the Star has to offer digitally, including sports and the e-edition. Go to kansascity.com and drop down to the bottom of the page where it says Start a Subscription for more information. Your support has never been more important. As always, thanks for reading and listening.
So what's it going to be like having the first, air quote, normal spring race in a few years?
I hope it's going to be great. We're really looking forward to, as far as we know, having a minimal impact from, the pandemic-related issues that we've faced, as you indicated, for the last 2 years. We'll have fans back on the infield. We're going to have a normal pre-race. Some things have changed. We've sort of learned and we hope improved some things. But we're really looking forward to having fans back and providing a great weekend for everybody.
Will the fans notice changes? What will they see?
I don't think so. I mean, most of the stuff is things like the drivers' meeting has changed. We don't do a drivers' meeting anymore. We have an event called the 1948 Club, and so it's just a different aspect of pre-race, but it wasn't something that most fans saw or participated in.
Okay. Well, I missed the drivers' meetings. Those were kind of fun.
Yeah, this is just a new thing. So
okay.
I haven't experienced one yet because we changed it this year.
Okay. Pat, you guys slugged through COVID as much as anybody. NASCAR is such a fan-oriented event and experience. It just had to be hard these last couple of years to postpone races and then limit capacity and have no capacity and kind of not knowing from month to month what conditions you were going to be faced with.
Yeah, the thing that I think some people may not understand is that we probably did more work for fewer fans than we've ever done in our history because of everything we had to do as it related to COVID protocols, changing seating manifests, moving customers, in the ticketing system, all those kinds of everything that the whole country experienced, we had to do in a microcosm for every event. The first time when we ran without fans, it was pretty straightforward. I never want to repeat it, but we did it. But then when we were running with fans and trying to follow CDC guidelines and the COVID protocols, it was just a ton of work from our perspective, a very limited crowd. Still worth it. Just an interesting juxtaposition of more work and fewer people.
And through those experiences, we're talking about the 2020, 2021 seasons. Were any ideas about the product reinforced to you? Did you? I guess that's a poor way of putting it, but I'm just wondering if your faith in the product was strengthened by the couple of years of disruption.
I guess I think about it a couple of ways. If you talk about the racing product, we delayed the release of the next-gen car by a year, and I think, the results so far this year anyway have been fantastic with that, and we're excited about it as an industry. But if you think about, the term product more broadly, which is how I think about it, and you include the whole race fan experience, that product at first went away, then was greatly diminished, and has since come back. I think we learned that we could do things. We learned that we could do things we were not willing to try in the past. In terms of the racing product, we raced without practice, as an example. For fans, I don't know that we've learned that much in terms of fan enhancements because we were doing everything we could just to get fans into the venue. And so I think it was more about understanding how we could operate in different ways, and that will probably open up things going forward because we'll be more ready to challenge sort of a standard or a norm and say, well, hey, we didn't think we could do this before and we did it, so now let's try this.
But you're right. The things did change, even if it wasn't about the fan experience. Just the types of courses, that NASCAR decided to move to, and as you mentioned, the next gen cars. Let's look at just the new events that have sprung up in the last couple of years. The dirt track at Bristol, the road courses, and then what happened at the LA Coliseum back in February to open the year. For those of us, and I know you are too, something of a college sports fan, that was really cool to see a NASCAR track in the LA Coliseum.
Yeah, I mean, for me personally, it was really special because my daughter's a member of the USC marching band. And so I'd been out there for football games, and of course she lives out there. But it was really neat to see. And I think the Clash is an example of something that we might not have had the desire to try or the willingness to take that kind of a risk before the pandemic. But I think after we managed through the issues that we did with the pandemic, and I could be speaking out of turn here because I wasn't involved with the decision to conduct that race. But after we managed through the pandemic, I think we realized we can do more than we thought we could do. And so when we started looking at that as an option, I think we all said, yeah, it'll be a lot of work, but we can make it happen.
So what might be what else sparks the imagination for NASCAR without giving away any secrets or anything? I just wondered what else could be out there in terms of just stretching ideas of what could be possible.
I think you're going to continue to see us work to innovate the fan experience at track. I'm not sure exactly what that means yet, but I can tell you we're making significant investments in improving the fan experience and doing things to provide a full day of entertainment for our fans. Just as an example, and this is something I wouldn't want to say we've never tried in the past, but we've been unlikely to do. We're going to have dueling pianos in our midway Saturday and Sunday this year, just as sort of an entertainment function, and that's just not the kind of thing that we would have done in the past. But we're getting pushed by our senior leadership to think differently, to look at things, to try things that we haven't done before, and we're doing it. And, the other thing is that we've got, I don't want to, sort of permission to fail, if that makes sense. Not that we are going to do anything where we know we're going to fail, but we know that we're not going to do everything successfully, and that's okay.
So I always ask this of people that I know are NASCAR or other auto racing folks. Do you think Drive to Survive, the Netflix series on F1, has had a ripple effect through other forms of motor racing?
I'm not sure. It probably hasn't hurt, and it certainly seems to have lifted F1's profile in the United States. But, just for me looking at it sort of as somebody who works in our sport, watches F1, and follows it, not super closely, but, close enough, it's hard for me to distinguish whether F1 is seeing this great lift from the series or we're coming out of a pandemic, people want things to do, they're putting on great events in places like Miami, and, those things are playing off of each other. I tend to think it's more the event side of things than the series, but the series certainly hasn't hurt.
Right. So you missed out on, you didn't miss, but the pandemic, to get back to that for a second, happened to come on the 20th year anniversary of the opening of the Speedway in 2001. Were you guys able to at least commemorate that in any way, or how curtailed was the 20-year celebration?
It was effectively eliminated, I would say, because we were so focused on just being able to operate our events that we didn't have any bandwidth to be able to do any kind of meaningful celebration. I would say that's my opinion. And so, unfortunately, that's one of the things that the pandemic greatly impacted. So, we'll push off some of the things we were going to do that year to the 25th year.
There you go. And that's coming up here pretty soon.
Yeah, it'll be here before we know it.
That'll do it for today. Thanks to the SportsBeat KC production staff of Monty Davis, Randy Mason, Jeff Rosen, and Chris Fickett, and First Federal Bank for sponsoring today's show. Tip of the cap to Randy Covitz and Pat Warren for sharing their insights on auto racing. Today's Morning Sports Edition is 33 pages full of everything in sports, including Sporting KC's victory in the U.S. Open Cup on Tuesday night. Go to liveedition.kansascity.com for more information. As always, thanks for listening, and we'll be back soon with another edition.